know what, like I was thinking about it. I was like feeling like a little bit embarrassed, honestly, about the video that I'm going to publish as of today. I currently film them with a lag ahead of time. And so what I know now versus what I knew when I first made that video, like it doesn't make that video like obsolete. I feel like it's a good standing video as far as showing what the effects of certain things are on a person's psyche and then like what they do with that. So I think it's interesting in that sense. But as far as like my own personal development, like it might have just been nicer if I was just like, you know, I didn't put that out into the world and just kept that part like kind of to myself and then like let it play out by myself. I guess that's the pros and cons of doing this in front of people. It's very honest because it's like I genuinely felt that way when I was creating those videos. And what I said in those videos, and I specifically mean about like how I felt about the ghosting people and how I felt about the person that comes in and out of my life, like the snake kind of person. So I still feel that way on some level, but I have a lot more information now that kind of like is more calming to me. And it's just like, I get what's happening now because they gave me more information. Both of them actually gave me more information. And, you know, I'm not as angry anymore at anything that they've done. It doesn't mean that I love that they chose that way to interact with me, but I just understand it. And so like looking back, I think that's kind of like, it's great that you can see an honest progression of somebody's emotions and feelings and understanding of what is happening when you combine it with somebody else's life. I feel like I don't really see memes a lot and I don't really go on social media a lot, but sometimes I talk to Renee on social media and it's Instagram specifically. And after she sends me direct messages or whatever about some sort of reel that she found that was relatable, and we'll laugh, and it's like a nice bonding experience. So I keep Instagram basically for her. And I really just want to like delete it. I don't use it and I don't really like it, and it's kind of strange to me. So anyways, side note, I happened to scroll and I saw that there was like this post that was like very popular, and it was like a conveyor belt that like starts at the very bottom of this teeny tiny conveyor belt, and there was stages of a date or stages of a relationship, and it's like at the very bottom of a conveyor belt is like the talking stage, and then it goes a little bit further into like the meeting stage, and then the first date, and then to a relationship, and then, you know, commitment and blah, blah, blah. It was like the evolution. And like, as you got more towards like the top of this conveyor belt that just went like this, like the beginning stage is at the bottom, and then there's like a curve, a direct steep curve up. And a package was on the very bottom, and the package was labeled with like fragile stickers, and it was stuck. It was stuck at the very bottom, and it was rotating back and forth at the very bottom of like the talking stage and the first date stage, and it never really got to like second date, or, you know, it never really got to actual relationship stage. And, you know, because I don't see these things often, and because I live in my bubble, and because I don't really know like what people experience beyond like my friend group or whatever, like I think that what I experience is what everybody experiences, but like I'm not sure if I just bring like a level of fucked up that I can't ever get past certain stages in a relationship. And from that meme, I just felt like I understand what that person means. I understand that meme. I understand that reel, and I understand why it's popular. It's so relatable to me right now. And obviously it's complex of why you would relate to that. Maybe it's you that's keeping it in the loop, or maybe it's the combination of you and that person keeping it in the loop. Maybe it's just like macroeconomics that's keeping everybody in this loop, and nobody has like enough money to actually commit to somebody and like really just allow them into their lives because everything is precarious, right? So there's a lot going on there, but like I just felt like that was so relatable. And so I think that's why I keep talking about what's going on. It's not just a me experience, it's like kind of you know, my experience is probably, you know, a tiny bit different than other people's experiences, because your end game is maybe different at a different point in time than mine. Not everybody likes to or wanted to probably short-term date like I did or whatever, but I think in general a lot of people are you know, relating to that meme, and I relate hard to that meme. I even talked about it in one of my videos about how I felt like I was good at the getting to know you phase, because that's all I did. All I did. It was a very revolving kind of thing of like, I felt like it was Groundhog Day. I talked about that in a video, and like after I saw that, I was like, it's bigger than me. So I have this big tendency to want to go back and correct the videos in terms of like you understanding where I am at this point in time, and kind of gloss over my angry period and gloss over my not really fully understanding to this amount of understanding that I currently am, and to, you know, just kind of catch you up from like, okay, I went on a date and this is what happened, he ghosted me. But like, I want to erase those 2 or 3 videos that I made in between this time and that time. And I want to like piece the puzzle together for you so that you can kind of come to a conclusion that I'm coming to now. But I feel like the progression would be like, that would be revisionist history. I didn't just, oh, I got ghosted and now I'm completely fine with it. That's not what happened. And like, I feel embarrassed kind of that like I got that mad. I feel embarrassed kind of that like I drew so many conclusions that were not true. I felt embarrassed that, you know, I was just so, I don't know. Like, I don't feel like I was as angry as I could have been, and I don't feel like I was as like, you know, fuck you to these people as I, you know, could have been, or as I have been in the past. So as much as I was embarrassed, I was actually kind of proud of my development at that time, because previously in the very beginning of my dating career, or whatever you want to call it, my dating life, my dating episodes, my dating journey, I would like, people used to like say things to me and it would set me off for days, because I was so thin-skinned about what people would say, and especially what people would do. And I'd only long-term dated at that point. When I very first started, I'd only been in like a 10-year relationship, a 1-year relationship. I didn't know how kind of normal it was to like come and go out of people's lives with or without a reason. Like, I didn't know that at that time. And like, it would bother me a lot when I was like, well, you said you liked me. You know what I mean? Like, it would bother me a lot. So while I'm proud that I've come to like kind of like a level of peace, like knowing what I know now, I feel embarrassed of how wrong I got things and how I presented outwardly. But as I want to keep things authentic, I think it's important for you to see that I did that, to like, you know, to see what that brought out. I think what that brought out was like great, because it allowed me to like force myself to understand certain fundamental things about myself. I have a pattern where I pick people where I know it's not going anywhere, and it's not supposed to go anywhere. It's like completely by design that they're chosen by me, because I feel like that's the most exciting. But if I really think about it, it's because I was scared that if I combined myself with somebody, I would lose the part of myself that I'd been building since I left that long-term relationship that was so toxic for me, left me. And then I built myself up into this person that I am. And while I am ready to kind of say bye-bye to short-term dating, I still have that kind of fear in the back of my head. And so, you know, it's purposeful that I did choose to date the way that I did for short-termness. When I immerse myself with somebody, when I really love them, I give up a lot of myself. And you know, I didn't really know if I was gonna be okay with communicating boundaries. And this weird little thing of what I'm doing, like the short-termness, transitioning to maybe trying to pick other people but still trying to get what I like, you know, it allows me to kind of try out my boundaries because like dating short-term people doesn't really matter too much, as far as like, it matters a lot because they're human and I'm human and I don't want to treat them nicely. I'm not saying people themselves don't matter, but the stakes are not as high if I'm like, well, I'm not gonna like marry this person anyways. It's like a nice kind of like experiment really of how I interact with them and how they interact with me and like what goes on with that, right? It doesn't feel like I'm locked into like this forever thing like it felt when I was with a person for 10 years. I felt like I really couldn't do anything because every little decision mattered. And I feel like that's kind of another reason why I like short-term dating, because it allowed me to try out things without, it allowed me to push back. It allowed me to learn how to push back. It allowed me to learn how to have a backbone. And if they left, it didn't matter. You could just find another person. It doesn't matter. So little by little by little, I gained experience kind of like getting a little bit of boundary, but I was still scared that I wasn't gonna have enough boundary enforcing within me if I really liked somebody. And, you know, I was just scared of losing myself after I've become like this kind of powerful person, you know, in my own right. So yeah, so that's why I, you know, all of the reasons why I liked short-term dating and like trying to recognize my pattern of why I liked it, but also recognizing the pattern of like where that type of person would eventually lead me, just leads me to like the little conveyor belt, the little fragile package that just kind of gets nowhere. And like that's purposeful by design, like I said, but you know, it kind of serves its purpose and then it doesn't. It kind of leaves you a little bit lonely once you've got to a point in time of, you know, what you need to experience from that conveyor belt kind of relationship. So when you're looking for, when I'm looking for more of a meaningful something, like it needs to get past that point where it gets stuck on the conveyor belt in order for me to like learn. And I think the ghosting kind of by them kind of like kept me in like the nice comfortable little conveyor belt stuckness. And my ability to get mad at their ghosting and to like see them as throwaway people after they've done that to me or whatever, it fed into the loop that I was already comfortable with. If I wanted to push past that, I had to learn why that they were doing this. Because if I kept getting ghosted and then I kept thinking that they're assholes and not really thinking much past that, I would, you know, just go around and find another person to do this conveyor belt thing with. And so I feel like I'm trying to tell you that I pick these ghosty people because they initially excited me. They initially excited me for whatever reason. And I didn't necessarily have like a throwaway mindset when I picked them, but it just became that kind of situation when things progressed to the conveyor beltness. But because like I had a mindset switch of like, maybe I should see what's going on here, I could possibly get past the conveyor belt stuckness. And it doesn't mean that like we're gonna do anything with it. I'm not gonna be in a relationship with these people that ghosted me, but I can take the mental lesson that I learned after listening to them of why they ghosted me. And a lot of information came to light this week of like the why, and it brought out like a really deep-rooted understanding of how guys kind of think, at least these types of guys kind of think. So once I know that, once I have more information, because I allowed that information to happen, right? It wasn't like I blocked them. It wasn't like I didn't want to talk with them. I just wanted to like learn after I'd done my hurt thing. And it wasn't really that hurt. As I said, I've gotten better and better and better at accepting like that people do this and accepting that people have all the right in the world to change their minds and not give you a reason at all. So that part no longer creates like chaos within me. It's just like, okay, we're back to kind of like the beginning of the conveyor belt now. And like, I don't really throw like a fit. I'm beginning to see like a lot of the moving parts, my part in it, what keeps me in the loop, as far as the conveyor beltness, what keeps them in the loop as far as the conveyor beltness, right? Like I had very good talks with both of these people, and it brought out like separate things, I guess I can say that. So for the sweet person that we had like kind of a sort of romantic date, and then we had like a ghost parting. His reasoning was very rooted in himself, and it wasn't really kind of at all had anything to do with me, like at all. And so it opened my eyes to, you know, like kind of like what people are going through right now. And it opened my eyes to like, I'm not a weak person just because I allowed somebody who treated me quote unquote badly. I think ghosting is bad, but it's like, I feel like he was doing the best that he could do with given that information that he knows about himself, and he knows about his own patterns, and he knows about what he can give to somebody. I feel like he was trying to do the most kind thing that he could possibly kind of muster. And that's probably a really hot take, because you're like, well, a healthy person would probably understand how to communicate. Well, that goes back to like, maybe he's not a healthy person. This was the best choice that he had of what he could possibly have done at the time with what he was working with. So, I really respected that he was like super vulnerable and like told me all of his reasonings. He even explained down to like, you know, things that I never asked, but he just kind of like opened up himself and kind of just told me. He's not really a talker, like I said, but he just explained to me fully. And from there, I understood how wrong I was, but I also understood how right I was with certain things. And it was so relatable because he was like, this is my pattern. And just a couple of weeks ago, I was explaining to you my pattern, my toxic pattern. And it was interesting to hear somebody else explain their pattern to me, especially a person that knows about themselves and is like, you know, honest. And well, in that sense, not honest in the sense where like, you know, he probably should have said those things like up front, but I kind of get why he didn't. People still want love, and people still want affection. People get really lonely, you know, especially when they don't have like a ton of connections, that they can just kind of get sort of what they need from a person and spread it out amongst a bunch of people. Friendships provide a lot of things. Relationships with your family or friends provides like a lot of things. Closeness that you need just to be okay. I feel like a lot of guys lack that. And we've kind of gone over why I think that is. But I think women are a little bit better at getting what they need spread out amongst different types of relationships. And guys kind of just don't know how to get closeness that they need as a basic human, like especially if they're a quiet, introverted person. So anyways, I listened to him, and it was very eye-opening because it allowed me to see that it's so much more complex than I ever thought. If I had never like been open to talking with that person again, if I would have just been like, well, he's a loser, block, I would have never reached this point of like understanding about people. What he shared with me didn't really help in terms of like moving us further along or doing anything, but it was so monumental in terms of like, he gave me kind of like this key to like a door that I never even knew existed. And I'm like kind of like wandering around that hallway now. I'm not even in a room, I'm just kind of in a hallway, kind of like looking to see what lies beyond that space. And I was really thankful actually that he was just, you know, willing to be super vulnerable. And I kind of think that he was willing to be super vulnerable to like kind of like, you know, allow me to push him away, right? It serves like a double purpose. It's like, I'm telling you finally kind of like what my deal is, but it kind of like divides the burden of ending things. Because what my two past ghosting people had in common was that they ended things with me before I could reject them. But by sharing things with me, it kind of allows me more information and more context that I would need to make my own decisions properly about how to proceed or not proceed with this person, these people. And it was interesting because, you know, it divides the burden of choosing. And I liked that because when you don't have a lot of context, you just have to go based upon what is in front of you or what was said or what you felt. And that's not always the best way to make decisions. I feel like you never really have like all the information that you need to like make any sort of like good decision, but I think you and I can understand that you don't really need a ton of information if you're understanding that this is not a long-term thing or it's not suitable for a long-term thing. Obviously you need some information even for like a short-term thing, a couple of dates, or you know, a couple of months, or I don't really know, but I like that he allowed me more information to make my own choice. And I thought that was nice. So anyways, I had a good talk also with my snake person. I feel bad saying that, but you know what I mean by that, the ghosty snake person. And I feel like he finally kind of got it. He finally kind of got it. And I feel like we have an understanding, like some sort of like understanding that I know it is what it is and you know it is what it is. And so it just is what it is. Before we had this talk, in the very beginning when I was beginning to kind of get to know him, our flirting and our everything was kind of framed as it's only sexual, but there was an undertone of like, you might be what I'm looking for kind of thing for like a relationship. There was always like a slight kind of carrot dangling in front, not by me, but dangling in front of me by him, that was like, you know, we could be really well matched, this could be really good. Or, you know, he would send me little emojis of like a couple, or, you know, it was always a little bit like, well, I kind of like you already like that. Like it was almost like as if he thought that I needed the slight promise of a relationship in order to want just a sexual relationship with him. And I don't think that guys really understand that girls, or at least I do, I could just purely have a sexual relationship with him and just want that from him and not really want to expand beyond that, and be totally okay with that. I don't think he really understood that. So I think he always thought that he had to dangle this thing that wasn't really necessary. And I think from my last talk with him, I think he kind of got that, and everything was much more honest. And there was none of that facade that I needed those delusional things in order to continue with him. I want to explain a little bit of why he ghosted me, and it's different than why the other one ghosted me, but he ghosted me off and on because he actually just moved. He actually just moved completely out of state. And I don't know how long actually he moved out of state. Maybe he like was beginning to do that when I first kind of met him, and he just never told me, right? I feel like that's kind of what I was trying to avoid with people when I didn't know if I was gonna move, right? I would tell people straight up, I might be moving in like 2 months. Like, I understand that that could influence how you feel about, you know, the worthiness of immersion with me, but I want to tell you up front because I don't want to have this lie hanging over my head. I want you to kind of understand what you're getting into. I am okay with people being like, well, I don't want that. You know, I'll just go find somebody else who doesn't care. Or I'll just, you know, be by myself. Like, I'm not lonely. I think I want to reiterate that I'm not a lonely person. I pick these people specifically for what they add to my life that I can't get from myself. And I specifically go after things that I cannot provide myself. So what I do with these people is like, I need them for this and I want them for this. And it's not that I'm lonely. I've been lonely and I know how to be lonely kind of happily. It's actually part of my personality because I'm an introvert, but I'm also a busy introvert with a lot of goals. So I don't, you know, that's kind of fine. But I don't think that he would have understood how had he just said in the very beginning, you know, I am moving from out of our mutual state within like the next few weeks because I'm starting a life over after I get a divorce, and I can't get a divorce until, you know, basically the middle of summer, and that's all messy and blah blah blah. And I don't live with my wife anymore, but and I haven't for a long time, but I don't really want to talk about any of that. I just kind of like want to have like this sexy little passionate romance thing, and that kind of be just it, right? Like, I don't think that people would really think that somebody else could handle that. But what I'm learning is that people can handle a lot. I can handle a lot, and they can handle the truth back pretty well as well. And so I feel like people shield each other from things, and I'm feeling like especially that's happening with, I'm jumping from topic to topic, but I want to take this side moment to kind of talk about the people can handle a lot thing. I've had 3 or 4 instances lately where I was going to shield some information from them, and then I shared information with people. And so we'll kind of talk about that. Then we'll get into the why the ghosting person ghosted me, and kind of like what I had in terms of a nice conversation about that with them. So, I told my brother something that I thought he was going to be very judgy on, because he's very conservative, I feel, and as compared to me. And like when I was a child, we actually went to different schools. He had like a few years in a Catholic school, and I think that influenced like how conservative he was or whatever. And he would call me up and kind of like ask me about my health stuff. And then I was just like, you know what, like, I'm just gonna tell him like this certain thing that I want to tell him about my developments of whatever I'm doing with my life. And he took it great. He was very supportive, even though that's not what he would want to do for himself. He was super supportive. And not only that, he like asked me questions about, you know, how I was doing with things and like what my plans were. He was like actually interested. It wasn't just like, oh, that's great, Michelle, bye. Like, he was actually interested. And like, it didn't really matter that it wasn't something that he would do, but like I was under the assumption that he would be very judgy, and so maybe I should protect this part of myself because I don't want to deal with that judginess, you know. But like I didn't just test him, I just went full on with the information, and he was full on supportive back, and I didn't expect that. I expected the worst just because based upon what I knew, but like what I got back was just like brotherly love, and I was just like, great, like that's super great. So I also had like a very nice talk with like my pen pal, who is also super conservative and is also like very different from me in terms of like how vulnerable he'll let himself be with another person. I kind of like, you know, I'm very used to talking about vulnerable things publicly, but I'm still kind of curated in that. Like, I'm not just going to say anything. Like, I could tell you a lot more things, but I'm just not going to ever. And I'm actually a very private person. You wouldn't think that, but I actually am. But I do kind of talk about things that I think would help other people. And that's what gives me the courage to share my story in a very vulnerable way, because I think you can't really share in a non-vulnerable way and be as effective. So that's the only reason that I've, you know, done it this way. So I do have some experience now kind of talking about vulnerable things, but when it comes in terms of like, I understand how judgy he is, and I understand how conservative he is, and I understand his mindset is kind of, you know, not as open as mine in certain areas. Sharing certain things about, you know, what I want to do with myself, or like my goals or something, or like what I am doing, what makes me happy, what makes me not happy, but just kind of like to give the context of those things to somebody who may not see the value in the journey or the end game that I'm trying to pursue, like just might kind of completely blank. He was completely supportive as well. I've only shared this information that he could take really not well with him after I already know the context clues of what it's like to talk with him. So I can tell if it's a genuine acceptance or not. We had such a nice talk, and it ended with like, he only wanted like the best for me, and I only wanted the best for him. And it was so sappy, and it was just like sweet. It was like, I love my relationships with my girlfriends. They're some of the most fulfilling and wonderful and interesting like relationships that I have, because it's just so supportive, and there's just so much relatability, and there's just like so much camaraderie about being a woman and what it is like to be a woman in this kind of world right now, and just the journey you have as a human being in general. Like, they can relate to that so hard, and it's just like so nice, and you never really have to worry about certain things than when you're talking to the opposite sex. And like, I like my relationships with the opposite sex. It kind of like gives me an interesting and new perspective that I don't get from my relationships with my girlfriends. Like, I love my girlfriends so much, but I like what these relationships with these guys bring to my life. And I think it's worthwhile to add different types of relationships into your life, and I've really enjoyed what they've given me. I just begin to understand like a different perspective entirely from just talking with guys. But my pen pal and I actually have like this really unique and kind of I don't know, it's like very beneficial without having like a ton of like pressure. Anyways, I was really happy that I was able to tell him some truths and share some context that I was shielding from him, when he took it well, and it was just like super supportive and was just so nice. And he's like not normally like a very nice type of like cozy human. Like, he's not like that at all. He's more like tough love and like, I don't know. He's kind of like, I don't know how to describe him, but anyways. It was just genuinely nice to like keep being seen by people that I decided to share something with where it could have gone very wrong. And I just kept getting instances and experience sharing things that I thought that I should shield people from. And getting back to like the whole thing of like, I think that people can handle a lot more than I originally thought. And I'm beginning to see that I think they're shielding me from that as well, because had that ghost person like told me that he didn't live in my state anymore, and that like the possible carrot that he was hanging over me as far as like, well, if this works out really well sexually, we could just kind of like, you know, morph it into like a relationship, that carrot would be kind of like bye-bye, right? Like, it's not feasible to have a, you know, a long-term relationship with somebody that lives not in your state. I mean, yes, you can do that, but it doesn't usually happen from somebody you met on Tinder and then you had to like just a sexual relationship with, and then you only see each other like once every 2 or 3 months, and then you don't speak in between time. Like, it doesn't happen like that, right? It wasn't obviously gonna happen with us. And so I feel like he thought that he should keep dangling the carrot, and then he should hide the fact that he isn't in my vicinity anymore, right? Meanwhile, I'm perfectly fine seeing him casually and just having the kind of cat and mouse game that we have, and have that be kind of like all it is. And that could be wonderful for me, and that could be wonderful for him. And if we ever decide to change our relationship, I feel like there's enough honesty now that like I could tell him, hey, if this ever gets like too complicated for you, or you don't want to do this anymore, like, just let me know. It's perfectly fine. I'm not gonna throw a hissy fit, and I'm not gonna try to like get you to change your mind. You do what you want to do. Like, you come back or not come back. Or if you like meet somebody and you don't need me anymore, if I meet somebody I don't need you anymore, I'm not scared to tell you, right? I feel like people shield each other from certain things because there's this like long-term like carrot dangling in front, and that's kind of like, I don't need the carrot in order for me to like you and why we like each other. So I had a nice open and vulnerable talk with almost everybody that I was kind of dealing with in terms of like a dude in my life, and it was highly beneficial, I felt. So I understood a lot more about the reasons why people did these things, and I feel it was great that I had enough curiosity to think that there might be some more information that I was missing. I was missing some context. So that's kind of like all I wanted to kind of tell you about this week as far as the dating thing. It's like I think that I'm not stuck. I don't feel angry. I'm not stuck. I just kind of feel like experiencing whatever is gonna happen, and it's just kind of like calm. It's not angry, and it's not rooted in revenge, and it's not like, I just kind of understand it is what it is in both cases, and I'm just allowing it to happen. Because it is okay with me. Like, I've actively picked that it's okay with me. Like, I don't really mind. So it serves a purpose right now, because I feel like right now I do still need a lot of time to put into my goals. right now is like a little bit tough for me as far as like my career. And I didn't really talk about my career too much in the last video because I got talking about other things and I kind of forgot to like come back to it. But right now I'm almost like, it's sort of making me have like, not decision paralysis, but like I have too many things to do right now. And I have like, my focus is hard to like focus on running this old ship that's sinking and then putting enough confidence and risk into building something entirely different. Both of them are kind of full-time jobs, and it's hard for me as a person that likes to do things at the top level. It's hard for me to let the sinking ship sink, because the sinking ship is sinking is what I know as far as how to make money on my own, and the new endeavor is not guaranteed, right? So I have like a lot of like, how do I manage this? How do I manage my bread and butter thing that's no longer my bread and butter, but like how to transition a little bit to something risky, and like I haven't proven that actually makes money. Like I have one way that makes money, but it's like dying, super dying. That's why I needed to transition to something else, and I have, and I've done a lot of different little actions towards moving that, but like I still feel like it's hard for me to balance like my actual daily activities. It's like, well, I could put my all into this thing that's brand new, that's risky, that isn't creating me any money right now, and I could let my dying ship finally sink and not put any time into it and just kind of like cut my losses as far as like the actual time and effort I put into maintaining it. Or I can maintain it here, like take some buckets and throw out the water that's in there to like let it sink slower, so that I'll have a tiny bit of a stabilization process as far as like moving all of my daily tasks. I only have 24 hours in a day, and let's be real, I basically have decision making within me for like probably 8 hours, maybe 10 if I'm lucky. So 8 hours of my waking day or whatever. And it's like, where do my tasks fall? So I'm having like a really hard time with like letting my ship sink enough so that I put in enough effort into building of my new arc. So to use the analogy, it's like I see the tide is coming in, and I'm going to be left stranded on this island with no food and no way to support myself if I don't keep building. I either need to fix this sunken ship that isn't sunk all the way, and I keep, lost cause basically, but it's still usable. There's still parts that I can like piece out, or I can put all of my effort and all of my waking day to this other thing that isn't proven to sail yet. So it's like, ugh, what do I do? So I think that's kind of like what I'm having a problem with. And so it's nice for me to have like people that continuously want to like see me on kind of like a sporadic basis. Meanwhile, I'm figuring out my actual life, my actual goals and wants, and like this tricky time that I'm trying to figure out what to do with my businesses. And I still need like a lot of like mental space in order to do that. And so I feel like it's nice. I've finally reached a peace with like my dating of these types of people that are in my life right now, that like it doesn't, whatever they're doing doesn't really bother me all that much. It's like not the same kind of comfort you feel as far as that somebody loves you, or as far as that somebody cares for you, or as far as that somebody wants you. It's not that level of reassurance. It's just the type of reassurance that I can handle this, and I enjoy whatever I get with them and I give to them. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with the balance that is happening now. I've finally gotten to a stage with both of them, I think, that it's just like really honest as far as the honesty that can happen at the beginning of this stage. Like I know that it could get more honest, and I know that I have enough information now at least to like make my own decision if I don't really want to do these things with these people. Like it doesn't really hinder my process anymore because I've gotten to a stage further than where I was before with both of them. And I just, you know, I'm able to not have it bother me so much that I can't think about my main things. That's what was happening to me before. It was like bothering me so much that it was like, you know, I'd get stuck, or I'd have less and less mental space to like actually think about my business. And I really want to sort out what I'm doing with my money goals and my personal achievements and stuff like that. So that's super important to me, to like be financially sound and safe and successful in whatever I pursue on my own terms. So I was stuck in limbo, not knowing if I'm okay, should I do what I know on my reselling business and just kind of like see it sink further and further down, or should I just kind of ignore my entire reselling business to fully put all of my eggs into this other basket while I'm building, and then while I'm building the other thing, kind of take a little bit more swinging time to fix my sunken ship, right? A sunken ship can be resurrected and rebuilt on dry land, right? Like, it's really hard to fix a sinking ship as it's in the ocean. But if I can just get it back out and kind of dry it off and repair it, you know, if I have something else going on that's like kind of seaworthy, it'll allow me to build multiple streams of income that are kind of separate from each other. And I think that that's super necessary in terms of building something that is not as tied to the same types of, because it's in the same economy, it's happening at the same time, it's in 2024 economy, like similar things are going to impact the same options that I'm weighing right now, but they don't have the same direct impact. And so if this one over here is going to do good during this bad economical time, and it like my other one is highly impacted and this one is not as impacted but similar, it's similar because people still don't have a lot of money. Like that doesn't change no matter what kind of like business that I would choose. Like the fact remains that people are going to have less and less free money to just kind of blow on things, like, right? That kind of stays consistent no matter what I picked. But I'm dividing out the because they're different industry with different demographics, with, you know, a different way of actually getting the money, and different traffic sources, and like just they're entirely different. I feel like I'm dividing out how fucked I could get if I don't diversify. So it just takes a lot of time to build that out. I think it'll make me like a really well-balanced person as far as you know, what fulfills me by making money. So I think it's worthwhile. It's just kind of difficult during this time to put it all together. But it's something I want to do. I'm just kind of like honestly tell you that it's not the easiest thing to do. And so I think that's why, honestly, like the whole like letting these ghost people come and go as they please, or as I please with them, doesn't really bother me. Kind of like serves its purpose right now. I do want something more meaningful, and I do understand that I'd have to pick differently in order to get more meaningful. But as I see, like I'm not really too ready to do that based upon where I am with the other goals in my life. I need to put a lot of attention into these things, and if I just have consistent people that I can share intimate moments with and it be healthy for them and it be healthy for me. Like, some people can't handle, you know, the comings and goings that I want to do, you know, it's not healthy for them. But it seems okay pretty much with both these people that it not be like this full-on relationship. And I think that's fine. It like just works for me, and when it doesn't work for me, like, we'll switch it up. I think once I have things going smoother in my life, as far as like my career and stuff, then I will take a better look at like how this other stuff that I'm doing romantically isn't fulfilling. But for right now, it is kind of fulfilling for the amount of time that I have to give to these people, but also the level of intimacy that I want from them. It's super nice to get like hugs from people, and it's super nice to just like lay with somebody and to feel closeness, and I like that a lot. And I don't need a lot of it, but I need some of it, and I would like to do it with one person, but you know, as I said, that's not necessarily how it goes. So I don't know if this whole video was confusing, but basically I feel like this is a video of like, I was initially embarrassed of, you know, now knowing what I know, I was initially embarrassed to like lay out my videos in order in which I made them. I have a strong tendency to want to hit delete on those videos that are going to come up right now, that are like, you know, 3 weeks old right now, and they're going to present to you as fresh ideas, and you're gonna go through the weeks of like me seeing the process. And I wish I could just kind of like fast forward you to like the process where I know kind of like the most of what I know right now about these types of situations, the amount that I know about myself, about my business, and the amount that I know about my wants and needs and stuff like that, and my realizations. I wish I could just fast forward you to that, and I have a strong desire to like skip over where I felt a little embarrassed about things. But I think it's an interesting process, and it is as it happened that way. I didn't just wake up and have this epiphany. Like, the process had to happen in the way that it did in order for me to get to this point. And I feel like I've been stuck for like a little while, not really knowing what to do with my businesses, and like I was in a limbo, and now I can just kind of have reassurance that I'm going to get intimacy and I'm going to get the things that I need as far as like connecting with somebody on a vulnerable level on a consistent kind of basis, and it not turn into anything, and I kind of get what it is. And I don't need to keep searching for it right now. Dating takes up a lot of time, especially like committing yourself to new people and new unknowns, and like going on a ton of first dates. It's like very chaotic for me, and it's kind of like accepting the devil that I know, but it's like a devil I like. And so anyways, there's nothing in me that is going to be sad if both of these people go away. Like, I'll just be, you know, I'm just gonna enjoy it for what it is right now. And meanwhile, I'm gonna work on my stuff, but I felt like I couldn't work on my stuff because it was too chaotic before. Like, I was working on my stuff very slowly, but it wasn't in this organized fashion in which I was understanding where I need to shift my priorities. And I wanted to tell you about that process, because it's not just like, oh, I have this idea about these people, or oh, I have this idea about, you know, these businesses, and I need to like go after them in like 10 videos or so. I can tell you like, well, I built it and it's here and it's running great. Like, I think it's more realistic if I tell you I'm having a struggle right now because my dating life is chaos, and it helps me be more organized if I can just organize that major part of my life that was creating chaos. And that's what I'm doing. I'm not really sure if I'm doing it in a way that like makes sense to other people, but it makes sense to me, and that kind of all that matters to me. So I do these weird things with my teeth because of the Invisalign, and I've edited out like what I've been doing, but I kind of wanted to just show you that this is kind of something that I do like every now and then. I just like run my tongue around it because it's so like smooth. It's weird to like have like a smoothness that is, I don't know, it's just strange to have plastic in your mouth like all day long. But if you see me like doing the tactile, like, I don't know, it's just, it's like a weird thing that's enjoyable. So anyways, my teeth hurt today. I changed finally to tray 2 in my process of straightening my teeth. I think I have 26 trays, and tray 2 so far hurts a lot, and I'm happy that it hurts, but I'm also like, oh, this is so like painful. It creates like kind of like migraines in my head for like a couple of days. So it's not wonderful, but pain is growth, I think. We're just gonna go with that, cause yeah. But tray 2, we're on tray 2. Week 4, tray 2. Moving right along. So that reminds me, I wanted to tell you a little update on my research project that I am participating in. I did get accepted into the program. I took this like little scratch and sniff test that they mailed to me, and I had to like basically scratch this like little thing on this cardboard like little booklet thing, and I had to pass their exam of, you know, how bad I could smell or how good I could smell. And I got, I think, 34 out of 40 questions right. So the 6 wrong was enough for me to fall into the just barely qualified as a participant. So I scheduled my first meeting very soon after they told me that I could get into the program and participate in this research study. And I had like this really sweet girl be my enroller, and I sat there for an hour and a half just smelling markers that she held up to my nose while I closed my eyes, and I tried really hard to get the questions right, but I think I didn't get as many right as I could have. It was a super hard test actually. And I just sat there sniffing markers in groups of 3 and telling her which was the most potent or whatever, or what certain smells were. And it was like really interesting. So now I'm at the part where like I can do the research study thing at my house. They're gonna mail me this thing that I have to take before I eat. If it's like something that I put in my nose, and they're seeing whether or not I have any improvement in my taste or smell after I do this for 3 months. So even if it doesn't really do anything for me because I get the placebo, or if it doesn't really do anything for me because the actual drug that they're testing doesn't do anything, I think it's super important for me as a person that has this kind of a rare condition from COVID to participate in something that could help the greater good of humanity. Like any sort of thing that has like the ability to give more research and more like money or study or whatever to something that is super important, because it's given me like a lot of sadness in my life to like not have all of my taste and smell. It's like impacted me in a negative way for a really long time. So if there's any point in time that I could give back and to like help the process along for them to find something that could work, I'm gonna do. And I do it for free. Like I don't get paid for this study. I just think that it's really important to participate if you can. So I wanted to tell you that I'm starting the study the beginning of the 3 months. It is kind of a commitment, but like I'm doing you know, other things for like 3 months, like heavily committed, such as my skincare routine. I do it every single night. I have this very good morning routine as far as like trying to have a very nutritious, healthy breakfast and then going to take a walk. So it's like I already have other routines where I'm pretty strict with certain things. My Invisalign makes me very strict with my routine of like my oral health care right now. So adding another thing that's pretty restrictive and needs to be on a timely, fixed basis for kind of like a long period of time doesn't really feel like, you know, I'm sacrificing too much, because I'm already doing a bunch of things that I'm sacrificing for right now in terms of like modifying my behavior beyond what's comfortable, and then trying to work towards an end result with it. So it just feels natural to be adding this into my life, even though it is kind of a commitment, twice a day. And then I have to go and talk with the people that are running the study on a regular basis about my experience, and then I have to go see them in person a couple of times or whatever. So hopefully I don't have any bad side effects from the stuff that I have to put in my nose. They're gonna mail it to me, so I don't know yet, but kind of like tell you how it's going if it does go. But it would be interesting to see if I got the placebo and like something good like happened anyways. So I love that from a psychological point of view. The mind is super powerful, so I'm kind of sort of expecting that I'm gonna get the placebo, but we'll see. Anyways, thank you for listening to all of my things today and always, and I will you know, converse back with you guys in the comments if you have any questions about stuff or whatever. If I didn't explain anything like properly and you want to know and you're curious about my process, just ask and I will kind of just tell you. But if you're not curious and you just like to listen, like, I appreciate that and respect that too. So thank you for listening. Have a great weekend, and I will see you guys next Friday.